All right, I see we have a few people in here, some new names, so welcome. I want to say good morning. It's 10 a.m. on Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020, and this is 10 on Tuesdays. For today's episode, I'm joined with a special guest, Darryl Rowinski, President and Chief Operating Officer of the Business Management Credit Association. We are going to be talking about credit and collections management. I'm Holly Hoffman, founding partner and CEO of the Sales and Income Tax Advisory Network. Prior to creating my company last fall, I worked for the Wisconsin Department of Revenue as an auditor, speaker, and sales tax specialist. And my passion is to provide sales tax education and support to tax professionals, businesses, and associations in the hope to build a network of empowered taxpayers. For more information, you can visit my website, salesandIncomeTax.com. Again, thank you for joining my web chats, 10 on Tuesdays. They're every Tuesday from 10 to 10:30 a.m. You can check out previous episodes on my 10 on Tuesdays channel. To find my channel, go to salesandIncomeTax.com. Look for the 10 on Tuesdays logo. You can click on the logo to register for the webinar, or you can click on Watch Previous Episodes to access the 10 on Tuesdays channel. So now let me formally introduce my guest for today, Darryl Rowinski. Again, he's the president of the Business Credit Management Association. Darryl's a recognized authority in the business credit collection and accounts receivable management. And let me also add that I've been working with Darryl and his wife Diana for about 6 years now, and they really provide value to their members. And their members are so engaged, which is why I like working with them. I'm so honored to speak with you, Darryl, today. And I just wondered if you could share a little bit about your background with us.
Well, thank you, Holly. I appreciate the invitation and to also speak with you about business credit collection and accounts receivable. As far as a little background is concerned, originally I was an accountant, spent the better part of 6 to 7 years as an assistant controller and controller of companies, as well as in the banking industry. I then had the opportunity to later transition over into treasury management and credit and collection management, the different side of the finance area in accounting, and then built a career of approximately 35 years, 20 of it with the Business Credit Management Association, basically doing business credit collection management, accounts receivable, designing systems, eventually then working with many of my peers, helping them get best practices in place, structuring departments, and then eventually doing training and providing training opportunities for many of the people who make a profession out of business credit and collection. So a little bit of background and what I've been doing over this time, and again, 20 years of it with BCMA.
Awesome. And I know that's the area that you and I have in common is the focus on education and training. And I understand that BCMA's primary service is credit reports, but you really do so much more. Besides just education, your organization is the go-to resource for credit person support and professional management. And I have on my screen, if anyone is looking at our PowerPoint as we go along here, BCMA has some upcoming webinars. They're always having great webinars. So I listed a couple of the upcoming ones in June and July. And then also I want to stress that they have the Credit Professionals Conference, September 16th and 17th at the Hilton Garden Inn in Milwaukee. And they have 28 breakout sessions planned for that education and networking bash, as Diana refers to it. So, and that is in person so far, Darryl?
Yes, all things are go for an in-person session in September. That's the plan. We're going to try to be as flexible as we can, of course. Our biggest concern is that companies who ordinarily would send their attendees or the professionals that perhaps are on this call, will they have the opportunity with the company AOK to attend? We realize many of the companies have their own internal procedures as to how they're dealing with this pandemic and what may occur in the next 2 to 3 months. So we're hopeful that it will all come together. and we hope that we'll have the support from the community that we need.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, isn't it? I mean, everything seems to change week by week on what the outcome is or what people predict for the pandemic, which is kind of why I brought you on here, Darryl, is to talk about how this affects credit and collection issues. And it's just such a crazy time. So I thought having you as a first guest is just ideal. So my first question to you, what credit and collections issues do you normally see companies struggling with, and how exactly has that changed since this coronavirus pandemic occurred?
Well, that's really a great question, and it's something that I address with not only the member companies and clients that we work with today, who actually have structured receivables management. Many of the folks that we deal with actually have and the companies actually have a structured department or dedicated people that manage this asset or the receivables. The big challenge always is, and whether it's the pandemic or not, is certainly cash flow and proper collection activity. The issue with a lot of the professionals that we deal with have do manage that and have been allocated and given resources by their companies to provide all of that service to ensure a proper cash flow and stay on top of those customers who may need a little nudging. But that is not necessarily, that's more of the exception. There are so many companies who don't have structured procedures, structured management, structured assets available, or perhaps time available to regularly go through and manage their credit and collection and accounts receivable. As a result of that, cash flow tends to suffer, or it's not as rapid as it should be or could be because there's no one necessarily always monitoring it. And certainly the other activity is that dialing for dollars is still very important. Making contact with your clients and your customers to ask when the money's going to be sent, or if it's structured to be sent or staged to be sent, is extremely important.
Yeah, I like you talking about that, and I know this is a little additional, but while you were talking, I was thinking about two situations that I've witnessed where it was a large company who grew really fast and they didn't keep up accounting wise with the growth. And so they had great sales and marketing people out there pushing the service, but failed to collect. And so they were a couple years behind. I mean, it was millions that we easily collected right up front, just by sending out invoices and following up with a phone call like you were talking about, dialing for dollars. And then the other situation I've also seen is small companies who just feel they don't have the staff and they're busy doing their sales and out there working and just not following up with collection or billing. And wow, there's no point in doing the work, right, unless you're collecting payment.
There's no question about that, and certainly for those companies who don't necessarily have people who have been adequately trained or understand the techniques and some of the things that you can do to be effective in recovering your money or getting your money to come into the door, sometimes there will be some people who have just enough knowledge in this area to make them dangerous. And what occurs is that given a set of tasks during the day, calling customers for money may be the absolute last item on their priority list. And then, of course, that occurs day by day, and before you know it, months go by, and now you've got some significantly material past due balances that you're really going to struggle to get the cash flow in. So that's what occurs when you don't have the structure or you don't have someone who might be partially dedicated to that with some experience. Now, as it relates to the coronavirus pandemic, what we're seeing now is obviously a tremendous excuse to not pay on time. So I'm sure everyone who may be on the call can attest to the fact that what's occurring is that the clients are using it as an excuse to continue to push out payments, or not pay on time or ask for additional time to pay. Um, and of course, that's part of the business aspects too. There may be some legitimacy to that because in many instances, what's occurring is that as your clients and our clients and their clients, as we've all slowed down in the business activity with sales and so forth, that's a trickle down to all of your customers as well and their customers. So the money isn't flowing as quickly. A lot of companies were shut down, especially in the food and beverage industry for a large part. That has just a crippling impact on cash flow for many of the suppliers and up the supply chain. So coronavirus has had a major impact in the cash flow and being able to get it in effectively. It's made everyone who is on this call and others be terrific negotiators and be partners with your clients that owe you money, trying to work out of this situation.
And it's so tricky, right? Because like you were talking about, there's certain industries more impacted. And then just even yesterday, I was at a Tavern League meeting in my local area. And just amongst the bar owners, I mean, some were hit harder and had less savings and cushion to survive than others. So it's just, you just have to be careful. Like you said, you have to have a good relationship with your customer, right?
Absolutely. Relationships with your customer are so important, and that's where the communication is important. It goes into wanting to be engaged with your customers at this time right now.
And that kind of somewhat answers, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Kind of leads into my next question. How do companies judge creditworthiness after this hit to the economy then?
Well, that's an interesting question because it really goes back to policy and review. The individuals who are certainly managing their receivables and credit and treasury aspects of their companies, many of them have put in place, working with management, what their go-to-market policy is for using credit and collection to not only help avoid risk, but also to encourage sales. So therefore, many of the companies may have actually had policies and procedures in place that allow them to use credit to work with sales and keep the company satisfied on a cash flow basis. When we have these kinds of times where business is so slow, there may be a need for a temporary change in the policy. In other words, it may be a situation where many companies who are going to be hungry and looking for sales so that they can get business going again, they can start paying their fixed costs again, they can bring their employees back again. They may need to be a little bit more liberal on the credit policy as they go out and try to get sales back into the door and encourage companies to come back and start purchasing again. Now, you can still do that without taking major risk, but it's certainly not going to be a situation versus where business was so good that either credit was black and white. Now it's becoming even more gray than it ever has been. And the individuals who are managing credit and collection and receivables are the frontline people who are trying to help the company find a way to make those sales, not to turn away those sales.
Yeah. It's just there's just no easy answer to any of this, unfortunately. So, Darryl, would you say, as of today, considering the pandemic, and I know we don't have a crystal ball, But what do you think is the single most important thing businesses need to know about credit and collections?
Well, it's going to go back to a few things that we've mentioned already, and that's really going to be balancing risk. Many of the individuals, again, do the risk balancing on behalf of their company, but with these new times and with trying to help their companies get back on their feet, balancing that risk, but really continuing to try to encourage and expand sales is going to be just a tremendous, task that they're going to have. They're going to be constantly approached by sales and top management who understand and have a need or want to close these deals or make these sales or get back that market share that they had or that they had and get it back quicker. So as a result of that, every one of the individuals probably who are on this call or making credit decisions are going to be either challenged or tasked with finding a way to make sales. And the key to that is that you can still take risk, but you can structure your accounts, whether they're new accounts or doing business with existing accounts that may not have the capital now to pay always on time. And that's to find a way to perhaps tighten some things up, but then loosen up the sales. In other words, you can maybe utilize the issues such as personal guarantees if you don't have those. You might look for alternative financing opportunities like standby letters of credit, other types of things if they have the ability to borrow from their banks. Those are a little bit more formal things, but there are other things that certainly our folks that are managing receivables can do. Payment agreements, structuring things, payment plans to help them get out of old problems that they're dealing with now while they resurrect their businesses, and at the same time look for an opportunity to provide them with new sales or business. That's that challenge in the balancing risk that every individual in receivables management is going to have to face and is going to be challenged on, because of course companies need sales. Companies need sales or you have no receivables. And there's going to be a huge push for sales and expanding the businesses here in the near and short term. So that's the biggest challenge I think that we're going to have. I believe that we're going to come out of the pandemic. Things are going to open up. Things are going to continue. We're seeing the bars and the restaurants opening up now, which is a good sign, as well as many other companies. And we're on our way back. Let's hope it's controlled and that we don't have too many fatalities along the way, if you will.
Right. Yeah, that's the real hope, isn't it?
Yes.
I see we have lots of great attendees today, and I'm just going to see if I can unmute you all and see if anyone has any questions they'd like to ask. Not letting me unmute. If anyone has a question, you can raise your hand and
I might interject one thing that I should mention as well. Although this isn't going to be universal to just receivables management, but the other impact that we're having here with the pandemic and the shutdown is certainly the significant number of people who have been laid off, who are unemployed. We've gone from an era, I should say, and I say this because we have experience in this. One of the things that we serve our clients with is employment services, helping them find jobs in receivables management, but also to provide our clients with professional project and temporary help or work. There was a situation where there was such full employment in the marketplace across all industries that many companies were having such difficulty finding people and finding good help or finding people who wanted to work. Now that in almost an instant has taken a full 180 to the point where now companies have cut back. There are a lot of good people out looking for a new position again or laid off. And of course, what's happening is that staffs are cut. Those who are still working, even if it's remotely, are so stressed now, and the envelope is being pushed so much that is going to be another longer lasting impact, not only for companies in total, but also for all of those who are in receivables management or cash application and et cetera. That is going to be another big challenge that I believe everyone is going to have to deal with.
Yes. I see Diana has a question, but Diana, I can't unmute you. So I don't know if you want to run in the other room and ask the question. Sorry.
Another thing too is that Diana had just had a communication with a number of her board of directors on the international credit executive side, and as a result of that, there's been some tremendous information that's been shared in roundtables that the ICE Group is doing. A lot of it came from companies such as Euler Hermes, as well as LR International, one of our board of directors in the international side in Chicago, who have shared with us some very specific stories about how not only just in receivables and credit, but how it's impacted their companies and really crippled their companies. I don't have all of the resources available to me right now, but I know that we do have some that we're willing to share or can provide that can give all of your attendees here a better perspective of not only their localized responsibilities, but how it's impacted all aspects of the company: sales, logistics, shipping, production, sourcing products, outsourcing products, which is all terrific information for each of you to understand, because all of those are components of what you may need to deal with or consider when you're evaluating credit. That could have an impact as to whether or not there is excessive risk in doing business with companies that you are going to do in the future or have been doing with.
And how can they get that report or that information from you? Do they go to your website, or?
I believe that we can go to the website. If not, you can just email me, and I'll be more than happy to share that with you and individually, and folks can get that information without a problem. It were things that were provided to us by other clients and partners we deal with.
And just in case anyone would like to contact the Business Credit Management Association, Darryl and Diana, on the screen right now, we have their email address, info@wcacredit.org, and we also have their website, wcacredit.org, and also their phone numbers on there too, but definitely you can follow up with email. And if you miss it right now, again, within an hour, this presentation will be posted on my channel, and you can access it there and get the contact information again.
Yes, and as we always say here at the association, especially as it relates to any of our staff members, when we're talking with prospective clients or customers or members or whomever, if you have any questions related to business credit, business collection, bankruptcy issues, accounts receivable management, call us first, and we guide you what the proper things are to do. If we don't know the answer, we'll find it out for you and provide you with the referral or the information. And I'm sure it will be no different than as it relates to your side of the business, Holly, that you would want anyone who has questions relative to sales tax, use tax, etc., make that connection and ask you first so that you can provide them with the best possible service and referral as possible.
Right, exactly. Great. We're getting close to our half an hour, so I'm going to thank you, Darryl, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with me today and talk to our audience. And thank you so much for joining us today, those of you in the audience, especially the new people today. I hope this topic sparks positive changes for you and your team and your business. You can check out more information, like we said, about the Business Credit Management Association on their website at wcacredit.org.
Well, thank you, Holly, and everyone have a great day.
Thank you, Darryl. If you have any sales and use tax questions and would like to contact me or book time with me, you can do so by going to my website at salesandincometax.com. And next week on 10 on Tuesdays, our special guest is John Wendorf, CPA and partner from MBE CPAs, and we're going to discuss manufacturing industry and tax challenges as a result of the coronavirus and the shutdown. So don't miss that. And I've been working hard to bring quality guests to you. Future guests include Tyler Quam, Special Agent in charge of the Alcohol and Tobacco Excise Unit for the Wisconsin Department of Revenue. We got Vicki Resick, Executive Director of McDevco. That's out of Wausau. That's an entrepreneurial development support organization. It's really great. Nate Weber, Director of the Office of Technical Services for Wisconsin Department of Revenue, is going to be with us in July. And just stay in touch. Follow Sales and Income Tax Advisory Network on social media to be the first to learn about topics and guests that are coming up. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you for joining us, and I will see you all next Tuesday.